Good morning and welcome to Judging by the Cover, where we are going to judge a video game based solely on the store page. Today, I decided to take a look at Dot's Home, which is actually a free game. So if you got the time or the inclination, absolutely check this one out because it's a free, apparently a short game, according to the descriptions and everything. So we have a single player 2D narrative driven video game that follows a young black woman living in Detroit in her grandmother's beloved home as she travels through time to relive key moments in her family's history. So basically it's a point and click adventure, similar to some games that played out in the 90s in a very simple, like you click on the right places, make the dialogue choices to progress. But this one, the developers wanted to focus on a setting where race and location and the decisions that people made in the time throughout this family history, how that impacted their future and everything. So it does seem like an interesting little perspective. Now, me, with the complexion of mayonnaise over here, this may not be something that I have much or any personal experience with, but I do feel like it's important to go ahead and at least be open to the experiences and narratives that other people have experienced, to know, where they come from, and where they come to think about the things they do. So, as an interactive experience, Dots Home allows players to see the harmful systems that dictate our relationship to race and place. They do put a lot of emphasis on that through the eyes of those that are most impacted by inserting the player into scenarios where they have to make choices about how and where to live in the midst of redlining, urban renewal, and gentrification. We ask the fundamental question: how did your family end up where they are today, and how much choice did they have in that journey? Now, this is something that can be very divisive for people, but I do try to, maintain an open mind in my own respect. And we do have a fair number of screenshots here. We got when apparently Dot goes back in time and meets younger versions of her grandparents. And it looks like it comes from scenes where they are looking at houses when they're choosing to buy or where to move. We do have a door lock and, point and click adventure classics. You got to pick the right key. Another thing, but taking a look at this, could you pick the key based on the shape of that lock? I don't know. It has the little squiggle in there, but the keys don't really have much indicator for which one would be right. So maybe it's, just pick the right one, unless it's also color matching because it's a gray doorknob. Maybe you go the gray key. Now, it does have a little bit of a nice little background. I do like the art. The character art is simple, but it gets the point across. Like the characters are distinct in their own right, and then the backgrounds, you get a little bit of this trippy background going on with what must be the time travel mechanic, urban renewal or removal. So we got newspaper articles. So the lore and everything for the game gives you a little bit of insight to the setting. And where does it? What does it? Let me ask you. What does a nice neighborhood look like? Right. Okay. So these are the kinds of questions it does have you going through to where you can influence it. Now, I did take a brief look at some of the reviews and it looks like the decisions might not affect the game too much, but that's not necessarily a bad thing considering that these kinds of projects are ones where people are going to want to tell a story. So it's more of a visual narrative than necessarily a video game, which is not a bad thing. Now, I think as far as a game goes, I may give this like a 6 to 7 out of 10, just based on the store page, where it looks like it doesn't really give you a lot of things to go with, since it is more of a narrative driven experience. But the developers do have other projects. They have a few names listed here: Weathered Sweater, an Aerial Night, and the Rise Home Stories project. They do have quite a few names under their belt, with Ryan Huggins, a developer focused on short, impactful games. Neil Jones, known as Aerial Knight or Detroit's hardest working game developer, as he touts on his webpage, where they focus on indie games with a unique style that stands out. And they do have a nice collection of projects and connections that they do. They do a lot of networking with other small indie developers and small studios, where they have quite a range of games that it looks like they've worked on. For example, Weathered Sweater, one of the first names on here, has a Skater Gator 3D game where the after the deed to his swamp is stolen, Green Jammin' Gator grabs a skateboard to grind, dash, skate, and jump his way to retribution. Or Boat Venture or Super Sky Mech, games that look a little more adventure based. So it's not that this is a one note thing for their work. So I do think I'm going to take a look at some of these studios. I am going to go ahead and sit down with this game when I get the chance because, like I said, it is a free game. It's available on Steam. So at the very least, give it a look. I may have not given it the highest rating just on gameplay perspective, but it does look like it offers a narrative perspective into understanding the cultures and communities around us. And if nothing else, that is a worthwhile venture. So as despite being less video gamey, I do want to give a chance to the narrative and to see where people are coming from and what kind of experiences they have to, understand the communities that do surround us. Because I'm sure that all of us, we travel, we go places, we drive through communities on our way to and from work, and we really shouldn't allow ourselves to be too isolated, especially with everything that's been going on. So by all means, anybody out there, give this game a look. Let me know what you thought in the comments. And if you have checked out other games from any of these studios, the Weathered Sweater, Aerial Knights, Titan, ARX Interactive, let me know what you think of them and which other projects you would recommend a look at. And I do look forward to seeing what people have to say.